All right. Now, if you're watching on the youtube.com/Black Rasslin, this obviously looks a little different. There's the four of us are usually here shooting the shit. Stat Guy Greg, you've seen him before. You've seen him a number of times. Greg might have been the first guest that we ever had.
I was the first guest.
He was the first guest a couple SummerSlams ago. But we've got his other the other half of the Cheap Heat podcast. We've got I see a lot of people calling this man the Podfather. I feel like when I first started hearing raw, real podding, not about wrestling, but just in general, there was a lot of Juan-Ep, back in the day when I think everybody was trying to figure stuff out. We've run into Rosenberg a lot. We worked at Complex for a couple of minutes. But it wasn't until this man dropped his debut album real late that we started getting fly. And I don't know. I don't know if Rosenberg realized that. I don't know if he realized that, there's a good thing going on over here. I don't know if Greg put in the good word, but Peter Rosenberg, thank you for joining the pod for a little bit. Really appreciate it. Really appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. Happy to be here. And yeah, I did probably hear about you guys from SGG first a while ago. But that's a minute ago, though, right? SGG, well over a year ago.
Yeah,
I'd say
probably at least a couple of summers because they do
he was probably plugging his appearance on your podcast on TP.
Of course.
Well, but Rosenberg, because we see you in WWE, this is going to sound like a joke, but I have a serious question now. Last week on our podcast, we had a fun. They had fun remixing John Cena's do 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 do, but with with the West Side Gun do 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 do, and then we saw Paul Heyman the next day
flip it. Now
I wanted to ask you, and this is a serious question. It's going to sound like a joke. I know you said you've heard Greg talk about Black Wrestling. Have you ever heard anybody in the WWE mention the Black Wrestling podcast?
Of course.
You mean besides Vince?
I hope Vince is listening. I hope Vincent's listening.
I have to admit, I don't know that I've ever heard anyone mention my podcast in WWE.
I imagine it happens, but I don't know. There's too much going on that we talk about.
Do you think they confuse Sunday Night Heat and Cheap Heat? No, we're done with Sunday Night Heat. That was years ago.
Yeah,
we then took that off air. Yeah.
No, I don't end up talking a lot about current wrestling stuff when I'm there. I do end up talking a lot of historical stuff and listening and hearing stories, but I try to cut off my markdom at talking about anything that's going on, with the exception of Booker and JBL. When I'm sitting around with those guys, they may, we may have conversations about what we think. We have our own podcast in the it's known as the TVL, which is the TV locker room.
Okay.
And when we sit in TVL, we definitely have our own podcast, which Booker broadcasts very loud to anyone who walks by, all of his opinions, many of which I then hear about. I'll see a headline 3 days later. It's Booker T shoots on blank. I'm yo, he was shooting on that same thing in the locker room 3 days ago.
He was getting ready for his pod. You talk about the TV crew, and I have to ask. I know there's a lot of working going on, but does Jerry Lawler not like you? Is that a shoot?
That might be a shoot.
That's a very good question, Kyle. Let's see.
Every time I watch, it's I don't know if he's got a dart where he's this guy, shut up, I want to get the show. I don't know what the situation is, but
he's a weird dude in the sense that
you don't say.
It's too early. It's too early.
It's never too early for the truth.
No, he's not around us in TVL at all. So I don't see him the whole day. So I don't see him until we walk out to the set. And then when we do talk, it's very friendly. Mm-hmm. But then when we go on the air, he no-sells almost everything I say. Here's the thing. I feel zero I feel zero disrespect at the jokes at my expense by JBL, right? Like JBL's always killing me. Booker will occasionally. I don't care at all. To me, it's like I get the privilege of being the only non-wrestler, basically analyst, who gets to sit there and so whatever dues I have to take, because I never took them in the ring, right. Like I will eat it, no problem. The only thing that gets me annoyed is that Jerry's the one person who no-sells everything I say. Like, I don't care if you dog me, but if I make a good point or a joke, don't just stare blankly. Like, because if you watch the shows, you'll see Booker and John and Kayla will all either laugh or respond to what I say. And very often, JBL or Booker will say, like, that's a good point, or I agree with what you said. Like, Jerry just sits there like, so I really don't know if he dislikes me or not. But I will say I try not to think about it too much, because when I really think about how much Jerry Lawler's accomplished in wrestling, like, whatever. He doesn't have to like me. He's still done some of his career run. When you look at his arc, and like, he's not my number one favorite color commentator or anything like that. I just mean his wrestling arc is crazy. And the man still wrestles right now, which is really crazy.
I thought you were going to say your reign was more important than his.
I thought that was coming. I thought that was coming too. I thought you were going to mention the fact that you are a champion in WWE.
Respect me.
Now listen, he must acknowledge that I am a champion, and he is not a WWE champion.
Because, I mean, what's more important at that table, right? What do you think stings more? Being the only person at the kickoff panel that doesn't have a long storied wrestling career, or being the only person on the kickoff panel who doesn't have a single championship run in WWE? I got it.
Damn.
I mean, he did have feet in his mouth too.
All right, so look, right?
Jesus Christ. Jesus.
I was about.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. No, I appreciate that.
What happened?
I appreciate you just stopping after that part.
No, hold on, Cal. Let's get to some important shit right now.
Let's go.
First of all, rest in peace, D. Ellis. So, this is what I want to say. It was a point in time where I used to take trips back and forth at 4 p.m. in the afternoon and shit to 88.1, right? That's at the University of Maryland, to put my CDs in the cubby of PMD, right?
Yes. Didn't know that.
To this day, I still haven't got my shit played on 88.1. Right?
So we have been on the station.
I need reparations. I don't give a fuck about titles.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention Rosenberg. These two to my right are both Maryland. This is the most Maryland podcast you'll probably ever be on. Yeah, wow. Facts. Facts.
So I need you to call up the station and have them play them shits,
or at least send them back.
Yeah, I need my CDs.
I'm about to call 314-8800 right now and ask if they're still around. I don't even know if anyone. I mean, where's my cubby? Is my cubby? My cubby should be. That shit should be sitting there like it was fucking gold,
enshrined. Yeah.
Facts.
I have never heard a word from 88.1, except like it's so crazy. It's a tiny little radio station that doesn't have that much, like, it does have a lot of history, but it doesn't have like a pronounced famous history. You would think they might be like, yo, you want to come back and talk to the students one time, stop by the South Campus, all grab a piece of kids. Yo, fam, Math, tell SGG about how ill the chicken meals with the biscuits and the potatoes were at the South Campus dining hall.
Hold on,
not still.
Hold on, Greg. I ain't even go to the school, but I went to the school
every day.
I held court for them chicken meals. That's a fact.
Yo, Greg, they had like a chicken station at the South Campus dining hall. So like you could get whatever was the meal that day, whatever, salad bar, pizza, but they had like a rotisserie chicken area. where they had the rotisserie chicken, stuffing, mashed potatoes, and the cornbread biscuits.
Jesus,
bruh.
It's Thanksgiving every day.
I was on the regular.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
Yeah,
It was there every day. It was there every day.
Oh shit!
It haunted me. Yo, shouts and rest in peace to Dave Ellis, man. He was great dude.
Shout out to Lupo's too.
Shouts to used to be in Lupo's too.
What?
I'm telling you, Rose. I forgot to mention this. This is the most Maryland podcast you'll ever be on.
You were bagging chicks with me spinning like Donnell Jones and
throw
he was
some
probably
on it.
he was probably singing Donnell Jones.
Was goddamn right where I want to be. Lupo's was 99 cents on Thursday.
I DJ Thursdays. Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Yo, I had a run. I had a I was there so much that I had a trunk, like you would bring like clothing to fucking camp or something. I had a trunk in the DJ booth filled with like 300 records that just lived there. Like that was my house. I was there. That Lupo supported me for a few years. That was the longest running club DJ gig I ever had. I met my ex-wife there. Lupo's was my spot.
Lupo's was the shit. Shout out to Jesus. God bless you, Jesus.
Shouts to Jesus. Shouts to
Look at that. Look at that. Jesus Christ. You ain't know you was coming on here.
No, I didn't know we were going to College Park. Let's go to Wawa. You want to go to Wawa? You want to go to Danny's?
Wawa's right there. Wawa's is right outside.
You got a Wawa right there?
Right there.
Are y'all in Maryland now?
Yeah.
They bees in Maryland like that.
You're in PG County all the time?
No.
Brother Matt is from PG County.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Don't do that.
I just learned about this. I didn't realize the county was that.
Something?
I didn't realize. Apparently, being from PG or just saying you're from the county out that way, you might. That's worse than saying you're like homeless or poor or something. Like what? Where does that sit on the level of disrespect?
So let me ask you a question, Rosenberg.
He just jumped right over your shit. He jumped all of your shit.
No.
Jerry Lawler your shit.
That's funny.
Where's the top of the DMV?
Where's the top? What do you mean exactly?
What is the furthest point north of the DMV?
The further, like north or west? I guess north. My cartography is not very strong.
It's over already.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, DMV goes all the way out to like, Germantown, like Shady Grove Road, like all the way out there is still DMV for sure.
Right.
I mean, Frederick is probably close. Frederick is probably they probably still consider themselves DMV. That's like 45 minutes.
The question I'm indirectly asking.
Like Baltimore? You mean on the way to Baltimore?
Yes.
Like Columbia? I don't know.
So that Columbia is a grayish Columbia Laurel, but
Laurel's definitely DMV. Laurel's
right,
definitely.
100%.
What are you
Baltimore definitely is not.
Baltimore is not the DMV. It is, but it's culturally different.
It's correct. The DMV is culture. It's not geographic, right? It's not.
Yeah, he just jumped on a big distinction though, right there, right? Because like it probably is within the borders, but like you said, culturally, it's just a different.
Correct.
I don't
never thought about it like that.
Right, because like Southern Virginia isn't in the DMV.
Right. But it's weird though too. It's not, but there is a connection to the DMV, right? Because everyone from, not everyone, a lot of people from Southern Virginia have ties to the DMV. They would party in the DMV.
Like go up.
Like you take Pusha lives in Maryland now, right? Pusha lives in Montgomery County. So like people will make that move from Virginia to the DMV. It's also between Southern Virginia and New York. So like, but no, I agree. Baltimore is a different animal altogether, even though it's crazy because like growing up, I went to Orioles games all summer, every summer. Like it was a big part of your life, even though, respect to your hat, Matt, even though it's not though, like culturally it is different. I mean, Baltimore music is vastly different than go-go.
Right.
That is correct, sir.
Better.
I think you just said different. I think you just said different.
Said different.
You got Philly ears, Greg. Stop it.
Wait, Rosenberg, have you talked to Top Dollar, AJ Francis? Have you guys connected at all?
No, not really. I think we follow each other on social, but we've never had like DMV talk. I know he's a DMV guy, but like
Anne Arundel County, specifically Pioneer City. You already know it is.
woo!
Yeah. It's very Maryland over here, and like a hint of Jersey.
Yeah, you sit back and relax. So
I can only talk when they talk when Liv Morgan or Redman comes up. Any other time, I gotta shut up.
You relax over here. So Pete, can you give me, Greg? You relax. You've been here before. So Pete,
Nah, but it's two different Gregs, and we gotta talk. And it's actually three different Gregs.
Well, I don't want to hear none of them right now. So Pete, can you tell me very first hip hop show that you went to?
Yes.
I'm tired of shit in.
First rap concert that I went to?
Yeah.
Tribe Called Quest, University of Maryland, February 1994.
Damn.
That was okay.
Why?
Jesus Christ.
Hold on. Hold on.
He Jerry Lawlered you.
Who was your favorite? Who do you think rocked the crowd the best that you've seen in concert?
Who is the best live performance rap artist I've ever seen?
Yes.
That's what you're asking me?
Yes.
For a full concert or for like a time on stage?
Say time on stage.
I don't know the answer that you're looking for.
No, nobody. I'm not looking for an answer at all.
I would say when it comes to jumping on a stage and having the most impact for that time on a stage, I would say Busta Rhymes.
I knew it. I knew he was gonna say
So who would you say is their wrestling
equivalent?
You mean the Busta Rhymes wrestling equivalent?
So it's like it's the excitement and thrills per minute in ring. You're not talking about Ric Flair Iron Man match. You're talking about the time they're in the ring. That time is it.
No, right. No jobbers. No jobbers.
Right, Horowitz out.
Wow. Busta Rhymes would fuck you up if you heard you saying it. I'm sorry.
I am Mike Sharp is out.
I'm sorry.
I hope you're not considering Busta Rhymes a jobber.
No.
I meant Ric Flair.
That's your man.
Ric Flair a jobber.
Do not get on that Ric Flair conversation with Matt. We will be here all night.
I'm just trying to hit. This is my last question.
I respect it. I like the question. This is a thing. What was the?
Hold on, Cat. Hold on, motherfucker. Well, that's the Maryland side.
I feel like. Listen, it's hard to think about really quick impact in the ring, like someone who, when they're in, was electric, even though he was not a great wrestler.
This is easy at this point.
And not think of Ultimate Warrior, right?
Yeah.
Because his action per minute was.
But there's only 5 years left.
That's good. That's good. But the colors. It's everything. Yeah.
But I will say this: when you add up who has the most impact when they're on the camera in WWE history, to me, it's probably Stone Cold Steve Austin. Because his promos were electric, right? Like the crowd was. You could go back to watch a Raw, and he could do the first 18 minutes without fighting anyone, and everyone's going ape shit. Or they cut to a backstage. And everyone's going ape shit, or it's the main event the same night and everyone's going ape shit. So and even Austin now, as SGG and I have talked about this a lot on GP, no one comes back and gets love like Stone Cold Steve Austin.
True.
Rocky doesn't. Hogan certainly doesn't. I don't think anyone does. I think Austin gets the most love on his return of anybody.
That's interesting.
I think he needs to come back right now. I really think that is. When I saw the news the other day that there's rumors that The Rock is coming back, my the second thought I had was, I was like, yo, man, people would be more excited if they found out Austin was coming back for an on-screen character. Like for time, like not for one night, not an announced night. He may not wrestle again, although you could tease it.
Right.
Like if you found out Austin was coming back for 6 months to a year to be on TV every week, to me, that is the only thing that they could do right now to compete with all the rumors that are out there.
Yeah, I think the thing is even when he comes back, he's been the most successful. Like when he comes back, everything he does translates. Now, he was one of the first to come on screen in the crowdless era, and he was
the first night, yeah,
kicking people in the dingling that night.
That was nuts.
It was nuts. Bars.
Insane.
But like other than that, like every time that Stone Cold comes back, everybody loves it.
Everybody loved the last. Well, a lot of people loved
Rocky's
the last Busta album. But I would say, I think even if you think about like Busta in the leaders, you know, there's comparisons to kind of Steve Austin coming up in WCCW and going to WCW and ECW and all that. I think there's a lot of fair comparisons, and I guess that first solo album, or maybe even or would you go the second album would be like his 316 moment.
I mean, all the first three albums. ELE is probably 316.
That's what I'm thinking.
Is Sting Dinko D then?
Yo, that's deep.
Hold on.
So we have Charlie Brown.
Brown.
So
Blade Runner.
We're revisiting the conversation that we had with Andreas Hale.
Right.
So is John Cena Jay-Z?
Ooh.
Right.
Ooh.
Right.
You mean because he's not necessarily the best, but his sustained success over so long. Here's the problem with it. Here's the problem.
Oh, yeah.
John Cena doesn't have, in my opinion, a blueprint. Like he doesn't, because we can't forget, there was a time where Jay-Z wasn't just the greatest. He was the best too. Like he was both. He was everything. He was the coolest. He was the most poppin'. When you heard him get on a record, it was lights out. Started dating Beyonce. Like he had every element on Smash. I don't know that Cena's been so split from the second he was made. He's been so split that it's hard for me to give him that in the same way.
I feel like Shawn is Jay-Z.
Who?
Shawn Michaels is Jay-Z.
I like it.
Get him out of here.
I like it.
I respect you putting your bias away, SGG. That's a very interesting call.
I don't think Greg likes Jay-Z at this point.
No, I love Jay-Z. Shawn, but if you're being real though, Shawn is Hove, and I feel like Brett is Nas.
Ooh. So I mean, that's how pro wrestling breaks down, though. Because in hip hop,
because Shawn and Hove was in the group to start out in the group, went solo, got big solo, early retirement, came back from retirement, on fire, and just coasted into legendary status post retirement.
Damn.
That could be Shawn. That could be Hove.
Ain't nobody cock Jay-Z eye like that.
Yeah, what's Brett's ether? What's Brett's ether?
The barbershop window. Oh no, that's
Brett's ether was was that fight that they had where he pulled Shawn's hair out.
Yeah,
was it in Hartford, Connecticut?
Hair pull.
That's interesting. Shawn being Jay and Brett being Nas. That's in the comments. YouTube.com/Black Rasslin. Let us know what you think. What's up?
Jazzo Jannetty.
Jazzo Jannetty.
Yeah, Jazzo is definitely Jannetty.
That's rough. Yeah. Was Jazzo?
That might be the name of the episode.
Yo, and how about this? Jazzo's verse on Jigga What, Jigga Who is when Jannetty came back to Raw in those later years and had the IC run.
Yep. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's great. No, that's great. That's great.
It's all together.
I just hope Jazzo hasn't allegedly smoked crack and talked about possibly doing bad things to people.
I tried to just pretend that never happened.
Allegedly.
At this point, this is all I know about Marty Jannetty. I know he got thrown through a window. I know he came back, and then it's just the rest of fuckery.
Because at the beginning, it's not like when the Rockers came out, like you could tell that Jannetty was that much worse than Shawn Michaels.
Right,
they were both nice when they came out.
Right. They were a good team. They're a really good team.
Like Shawn stood out more. Shawn stood out a little bit more, but they were both nice.
Yeah, I think we just realized that Shawn had a personality and Marty was kind of just a guy.
High killing people.
Yeah.
He said it, I didn't. I mean, I'm reading the Facebook.
Yo, who on earth is, me and Marty Jannetty are friends on Facebook, so I'm pretty much
people do that. I knew there was back when Black Rasslin was just a website. There was one guy who did like 2 posts on the site. They were both New Jack posts, and he only knew that he only knew to do it because he was friends with New Jack on Facebook, and that was when New Jack was just ranting on Terry Runnels and whoever he was dealing with in a relationship, and it was not pretty, but those are some of the.
I can't fathom New Jack on Facebook. That must be some of the illest shit ever said.
New Jack, he would have gotten banned if he did it today. He would have been banned.
New Jack on Facebook.
Wow. Well, you got the name of your episode.
It's amazing. We could talk for hours. I know. I loved having the Cheap Heat guys through here. Thank you guys for blessing us, and also Rosenberg. Seriously, really appreciate the Juneteenth shout out. I had my homeboy's mother hit me on Facebook Messenger like, "Yo, is that your podcast? I think they just mentioned it on Hot 97." And I'm like, "Oh, word!" And then it's just like 30 minutes of searching through Hot 97, making sure I got the stream so I could hear the situation. It's last year our mantra was a Benny the Butcher line. It was last year's about Brandon, this year's about expanding, and I think it's dope to kind of not even make that shit happen, like to hear expansion naturally because people fuck with what you're doing. It's always appreciated more than any other fake love.
I listened to you guys that weekend. I listened to you guys when I was driving to what month are we in? That was
July. This would have been last month.
So this would have been not Monday. It was Hell in a Cell.
Probably would have been that weekend.
Yeah, that was June because they switched it around. I'm still
right.
Hell in a Cell in like October, but I was driving to the building listening to your guys' podcast that day, and I was laughing. I enjoyed it. Thank you. I need to cheat off your guys' podcast though because SGG and I haven't recorded this week. What's the big thing this week? What's everyone?
Shit, Matt Cardona.
Is that it? Is that the thing?
It's one of the things. There's a lot happening. You got everything from the announcement of the Vince McMahon steroids trial TV show. There's I want to talk about Roman and Lashley kind of just being like, Cena, we're not even listening to you. There's a couple of things that are going on TV right now.
Roman was good.
Roman was real good. Roman, yeah. They should have been giving him promo time like that years ago.
If I'm a Raw writer, I'm feeling a lot of pressure from SmackDown. SmackDown is a vastly better show than Raw right now. Like there's a
live crowd. Rosenberg.
Say it again.
How's that live crowd?
The live crowd was a lot of fun, man. I hope that things are able to sustain. I have like a hunch that people are going to be wearing masks at crowd soon, but
yeah,
it was my favorite little thing that I saw when I went to the SmackDown in Houston was really watching, SGG and I, if you guys have heard our podcast, we fought a lot about the crowd.
Mm-hmm.
Stat Guy Greg really enjoyed the Thunderdome. I really appreciated the technology and the innovation of the Thunderdome, and it took us from like a 1 to like a 6.
Right.
But to me, without the live crowd, there's no way to get to 10. It just doesn't exist. Like to me, I understand we see that different. Like, but to me, you only can get there with the crowd. And that first segment of the first SmackDown back to me was such a heavy hitter way to come out of the gate.
Right.
You got a first look at how people reacted to Roman. You saw how over Edge is, which is like, I mean, he's as over right now as the second he came back. And for me, I just got to really enjoy sitting close, watching Roman the entire time. And I've repeated it. I'll say it again. He would not let a little kid mutter his name under his breath without turning around and saying something to that kid. Like, if you ever wanted heel Roman Reigns, like, he's fully 1,000% crushing. And then he follows it up on TV this week with, he literally said exactly what I was thinking. I was watching Cena's promo this week, and I was like, man, is Cena going to do the exact same act he does when he comes back every time? And Roman said that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do we get this? Do we get this Roman though without the Thunderdome?
No, I think it helped. I think
when
not so.
And he was talking to the cameras, talking to the people through the cameras, like that.
That stuff worked. I think that stuff did a lot to really solidify the heeldom of him, because it's one thing to go in there and just run through competition, but the fact that he's telling you bitch ass motherfucker, like I'm the king. It adds so much to it, and I think at least for him, he's probably one of the best examples of that Thunderdome time really paying off. If he just came back as a heel without the Thunderdome, I don't know if it would have went over the same way.
And SGG, to the point SGG always makes about like the crowd being annoying and messing things up, that's a thing they could have messed up.
Right.
Like, they might have been so anti-Roman that they didn't even let it do what it could do. And now you can see, like, there's no denying how good he is. And the only thing it makes me think is, I wonder, and he would never admit it, because Cena's level of company guys, I mean, it's a different level. Like, I'm a company guy. I definitely rep for the companies I work for, but my God, I wonder if Cena would ever admit or even feel this way, that when he's in there with Roman right now, he's a little jealous that didn't get to do what Roman's doing.
Probably.
Not once.
Of course.
Well, that's why he came back and was like, he's an asshole, because that's like the furthest he can push it, is that like, yeah. Because then he's still John Cena. It's like,
you still got the jorts on, baby. You still got the jorts.
Trip, did you buy the shirt yet?
Instagram was like, come to WWE shop where you can get the John Cena merch, and I'm like, they really are listening to the convos, because it's like,
oh wow, you said it and they showed it to you on Instagram. Yeah.
No, last week, Hal was like, are you gonna get the new shirt? Are you gonna get the new shirt? Then that day, the guy dropped the video on Twitter of him in the gear, like, look at this shit, like I feel like fucking Superman. Like,
on the caption said, "This is what other poop butts bought."
Jesus.
I do wish though it would have been, I wish there was a way that halfway through this summer of Cena, he could change up his look though and have like a
That's what I said.
He might though. He might.
I think,
there's still time.
How do you update Howdy Doody though?
You got you change it. You just say fuck it. He's grown. He's not 14 years old running around the ring anymore.
He's got just up like Jacob Toretto. He's got to come in like jeans, a tight shirt, and the chain necklace, and be like the hairs.
Cal want him to dress like somebody with Swerve Scott.
I don't.
Old school Cena. Thugonomics.
Just put an S in front of their team name, and then you got.
You stupid. Stupid.
He could wear a suit. He could do something. Like,
yeah, a heel Cena in a suit.
Total Bella's John Cena.
So you want him to be a heel though?
No, not
or even like a Hollywood Cena.
Yeah, he won't. He can't. He obviously can't go heel up against Roman. I know they're not going to do that, but he could. I feel like there's a way they could sell that shirt, and that's what he'll wear to the ring at at SummerSlam. But in between, to see him being like, "Oh, you say I'm always the same," to try to fuck with Roman and to show that he has levels, he can still be He can still be an anti-hero. Like he could still be anti-Roman and thus a babyface without being the cheesiest version of himself.
Correct.
So,
And
but then you're asking for not John Cena.
That is what I'm asking for. Yeah.
But I mean,
To some degree, I want to see what he could do. I want to see him have to do something different, man. Like we know that he can do what he's doing. But
can you imagine that pitch though? Like, yo, let's have John Cena, right? But look, don't do none of the stuff John Cena usually do.
But I'm saying, like, it's not like it's.
But they did it already. They got
it's
it out
not so
way.
foreign.
But Cena is there for the nostalgia button. That's what he's there for.
But can't you?
Button,
is Cena in the nostalgia category yet? Though
he's got to be. He's got to be.
I feel like he's more in case of emergency break glass.
I think it's a little bit of both. I mean,
I think we went past that when we didn't see him in the Thunderdome. We went past break glass because that was the biggest emergency. Is we can't have fans.
But they broke the glass and you got Roman. They broke the glass on heel Roman.
He was filming the show. Right. Like
SGG, think about it like this. If you're a 25-year-old WWE fan, you've been watching John Cena since you were 8. That's nostalgia.
Yeah, but he comes back every year.
Still.
The thing is, how long is that going to be happening? Like he just did Suicide Squad's coming out in August. He did a whole show based off of it as well. I can only imagine.
That's why he's going to come back. He's supposed to break COVID protocol to come to Florida, like the hotbed of COVID. To then
what I'm saying is it used to be WWE Hollywood. Now it feels like Hollywood WWE, and the more he's doing, again, Suicide Squad is about to be the biggest film in a couple of weeks, and he's got an HBO Max show tied to it. He could continue going up, and we might be. He's only doing a month now, and it's conveniently timed to the same month that the film's coming out.
Because the Matthew Vaughn movie isn't filming until the end of this run, so that's why he's doing this.
Hollywood Cena is definitely more visible than The Rock was when he finally broke big in Hollywood, though.
What was the whole point of their film? It was like you're saying you're here, but you're here one week, gone the next. Cena's doing the opposite. Like I'm here for a couple more days, and then doing the live Raws, live SmackDowns, and then coming back and saying. So he's modifying it.
Yeah, he is, and he's doing the house shows and all the super shows.
He's doing house shows.
He was in Pittsburgh on Sunday. Like
Rock wasn't doing that.
That's where he's trying to fight back against those accusations. Like, oh, you're just like The Rock. Like, no, look what I'm like. The Rock wasn't going to Louisville. He was just showing up.
No, but Drip, that sounds great until September, and then he's no longer around. Like, at some point the train's going to end. You feel me? So it's
How about this? The timing will be such that Cena is going to leave and AEW is going to get everybody at almost the exact same time.
Yep. I mean, Cena is how the rate. I'm assuming the ratings with Cena have been a lot better. I've not checked the ones from this past week.
I know the first one. I think Raw and SmackDown were up.
They were up
after the pay-per-view.
Right.
I don't. Apparently, this week's Raws were down. And
I did see Raw
wasn't on. He wasn't on this one.
He wasn't
right.
And it was really a weak show in general as well. So
they came out of the gate. Them coming out of the gate with the Nikki Charlotte.
Yeah,
that was an interesting choice to start.
They're booing the Nikki gimmick.
Is that what they?
Not yet. Not yet.
I talk on Twitter was trying to tell me that there was a section of that crowd who is not into the gimmick.
Yeah, there's always
she mentioned the gimmick
applies
in her
to
promo.
everybody. There's always a section of the crowd that's not into something.
But I'm
the one thing that bothers me. There are too many head of the table shirts in the crowd. They shouldn't have even sold a head of the table shirt.
Yeah, no, it's fact. They shouldn't have sold one.
It looks too. I keep thinking it's a Cheap Heat shirt. I'm like, we lit out here. Like that's not the original Cheap Heat shirt. That is a head of the table shirt. Oh, that's a head of the table shirt. It looks like the biggest shirt in the crowd. Honestly.
Right. They need to release the tracksuit. I need the tracksuit.
Yeah, I need the tracksuit too.
Yo, our guy, huge wrestling fan who makes dope merch off the rope.
Yeah.
Yo, why does the Roman logo look like my man's little wheelchair
It does low-key look like Punk's logo. No, facts.
Right? And go to Off the Rope on Instagram if you've never copped his merch before. It's fire, but he's in a wheelchair, and his logo is a little thing of him, a little silhouette of him in the wheelchair.
Right.
And the bootleg Roman with his fake Nike logo.
Hey, yo.
That's crazy. I wonder if Puck's ever realized that.
Puck might know.
That's fun.
Shouts to Puck. As long as I've known Puck, he's like he's not been shy about anything like that. That's just him. So
Puck's a wild boy, yo. He's got a podcast too. He is a he was a wild boy.
Shouts to him. I wonder if he still raps. Well, I first met him as a rapper before I even knew that he was. Yeah, he might have DJ too.
I didn't know that.
We've been blogging for years. That's how I knew him though. And then randomly, he mentioned something about the shirts, and he sent me a couple. This was years ago before Mero started putting them on years ago. Before he started putting them on the show.
Yo, and I don't want to diss Roman's tracksuit. And the tracksuit's fire.
You already called it fake.
You did.
It is.
No, you said Canal Street. You said you can get the Roman joints down Canal Street.
It's fake adjacent. That's funny.
Shouts to that. Thank you for this water.
I got this. You want to acknowledge him?
Yeah, no, I'm acknowledged. Roman, this Poland Spring came from catering. I'd like to thank you for everything I eat and drink. Everything that I eat and drink, I thank Roman for. I acknowledge him as the head of the table.
Wait, before we're gonna have to do we're doing a show, but we're gonna have to do a show at some point. Rosenberg, what's the most hip hop thing that's happened to you backstage at a WWE event?
Hip hop thing.
I always assume that people are coming up to you trying to talk about the latest tracks and shit, but like,
you just reminded me of one of my old favorite jokes that probably won't be funny anymore. But actually, y'all are low key. How do I say this in a kind way? Y'all are low key, old and washed enough to appreciate this time.
That's facts.
Don't associate me with that. No.
You'll get their drip. Don't worry. You'll get their drip. You've been hanging out with us too long.
You remember around the time the movie The Show came out in the mid 90s, people would always be like, "Yo, man, the way you do this, you drink your water like this, that's regular, but you drink it like this, that's hip hop."
That's hip hop.
Hip hop, right there.
Yo.
You ask me
that Slim Kid Trey?
So sometimes depending what I'm doing, it might just be hip hop. You know what I mean?
It's just you.
But let's see, the most hip hop thing.
I'm thinking about that Bob's Burgers episode. That's like that. You see how I'm walking?
I would say
he's not old and washed by mentioning Bob's.
See, exactly. It's the opposite.
Watching it with my girl. So
Damian Priest came up to me. I've had a couple of times when people ran up on me.
He says,
I'm always so geeked out to be there that I'm never thinking anyone's checking for me.
Of course.
For my space.
Right.
And Damian Priest is from the Bronx. Damian Priest ran up on me yo, man, I just wanted to say what's up. I listen to Hot 97 every day, bro. That's just crazy.
That's a good impression.
I had that happen with the Street Profits and Omos. I'm gonna keep it real. Everyone black.
The black, all the black folks, all the black folks in the South.
Almost played basketball at Morgan State.
Yeah, and he also went to high school at whatchamacallit, at KD, where KD went to high school. What is that? Montrose?
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Omos came here from Nigeria. Mm-hmm. He has his Nigerian family, and he has an American family who adopted him that he lived with and went to high school with. That's still his family. That both are his families. He was adopted by them, lived here, and went to school for basketball.
Yeah.
And went to college and played ball, and then was discovered by WWE.
Yeah, Atlantic Shores Christian School in Chesapeake, Virginia.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
DMV.
Look at this. Again, the most Maryland wrestling podcast you've ever been on.
Who knew? I didn't know.
Thank you, Greg, as always. Thank you, Rose. I did not make a Ghost of Peter Rosenberg joke. I probably should have at the beginning. I also am trying to figure out a way to incorporate what's Styles P's line? I don't arm wrestle. I atom bomb wrestle. I need to incorporate that into something.
Yo, there are crazy wrestling references I didn't even notice at first on my album. The Ghostface. Then watch Flair put Iron Sheik in the figure 4.
Right.
I didn't know if he did that because he knows how into wrestling I am, because it's just the kind of shit Ghostface would say anyway. So I have no
Right.
idea.
It is.
Right.
But yeah,
What's
Cal,
that? My life is like a ladder match. Yeah,
the ladder match too.
There's a lot
Yo,
of.
but Cal, I appreciate the article you did on the album. Appreciate you guys having us on here and showing us love, man.
Word.
Appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for coming through. I think it is time.
Go do your wrestling podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna start the show.
88.1. Play his
I'm out of
shit,
here.
man.
I'm getting out of here. Make
Hey,
that call
hey,
for me.
Hey,
I got
Rosenberg, ask Discord Greg to show up on Cheat Heat and watch the ratings go through the roof.
Discord Greg is what Cheap
Discord
needs.
Greg is different.
Yeah, he's a whole scumbag.
Slightly. We're gonna start this show.
Wow.
Greg, you're gonna have
Get me
to.
on Discord. Get me on the Discord, Cal.
I don't think you want to be in that Discord, but I got you.
I want to see what's going on. Give me
All right, y'all. All right, y'all.